So I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
I think everybody should really enjoy taking this guy down and the stock down. And because of the example it will set, nothing's going to, we are in an oligarchic country that's fascist and becoming more fascist every day. And that means people are going to die, and it's going to get as ugly as we can think. And the only way to stop that is if the people who have the money are afraid of us, the 99%. And, it's the people who own the society, the owners, those people, we have to make them really afraid. And what's happening now with Musk is making them very afraid. And that's a good thing.
If we kill the Tesla brand, if we drive down the stock price low enough, we can force him to sell his stock to pay back the billions of dollars of debt that he took on to buy Twitter. This will drive Tesla stock into a death spiral. Tanking Tesla's stock is a very solid strategy, and it's one of the only solid strategies that's really been articulated to deal with this moment. And if we're successful, we will collapse Elon Musk's wealth, and with it, his power.
So we need to be very clear about what our demands are, about what our bright lines are, and that we're not going to stop until Tesla is done with Musk. Thank you.
Tesla was permanently tarnished the moment Musk gave that Nazi salute and followed it with his brutal attack on the lives of ordinary citizens. And meanwhile, the protests will continue to grow. They won't stop until Musk is stopped. That means more people in the streets, more people learning the facts about his attack on our democracy, more people who aren't afraid of standing up to corruption and bullies.
This is something that hasn't happened very much in our country, and it's time to take down a man who's done colossal harm and will do more harm if we don't stop him.
But I'm saying, you can contribute to whoever you want, and the hope is that they're going to know that you want certain priorities.
He literally tweeted to the members of Congress.
The oldest profession on earth.
You don't have to touch me.
Is not.
He literally tweeted to these members, "Thank you for doing this. I don't want you to touch me. That's my personal space.
I won't ever do it again.
Thank you." But he literally says,
all right, guys, so we got to continue our coverage of the Democrat Party and the fact that they are refusing to come out here as a party and to unequivocally condemn the violence that is happening against Elon Musk and Tesla, okay? Because that is what's happening, okay? We have full-blown domestic terrorism happening in this country. It's almost as if the left has become the Taliban, right, in regards to their tactics of blowing up Tesla, setting them on fire, shooting up Tesla dealerships. Yeah, these people are domestic terrorists. And this is why I try to tell you guys all the time about the left. The left, they try to get their way with violence, okay? They always try to use the threat of violence. And this is why I get so annoyed when these liberals, these Democrats get on national television and they keep talking about January 6th, but yet they have nothing to say about the history of left-wing violence that has happened in this country for the past decade, okay? The current iteration of the Democrat Party is the most violent political movement that this country has ever seen, and it's not even close, right? Like that's just a fact. That is an undebatable fact. This is the most violent Democrat Party that we have ever seen. And the reason why these people are emboldened is because Democrats support the violence when they agree with the motive, right? When they agree with the fact that, hey, Elon Musk needs to be taken down. We don't like Elon Musk, right? They are silent, okay, on the fact that domestic terrorism is happening in this country, okay? And silence is violence, okay? Silence means that you are participating in it, okay? In fact, you have left-wing lunatics, Democrats like Tim Walz, coming out here and rooting for Tesla's stock to tank, even though this guy is so stupid, because he probably doesn't own any stock, to be honest with you, he doesn't know anything. This dude's so stupid, he doesn't even realize that he's hurting his own retirement fund, while at the same time lying about Republicans and Elon Musk trying to take away Social Security from people. But he straight up is hurting the retirement of his own state fund. Take a look.
Tesla stock is way down, almost disastrously so. People have been vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't vandalize. Don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so...
So I know it's a dark time, but I was saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
Now, I just want to be clear. no one at this table condones violence, right? Setting cars on fire, breaking windows, whatever, all of that is bad. But the question is, I mean, is it okay for an American company to just be hated, for people to want it to not do well?
I think, go back to point one. When you set a car on fire, you should go to jail. You're a criminal.
Any car,
I don't think we have to
actually.
talk
Yeah,
about it
not
in any
just
other
Tesla.
context. And all those cars have cameras in them, and those dealerships have cameras. You're beyond being stupid when you do that. You're going to go to jail, and you now have a government that just got their mandate. They can't wait to find idiots that do this. You're going to spend 5 to 20 years in prison. If they get them on terrorism, which I think is a stretch, they will have no parole, no shortened sentence. They'll rot in hell in prison for 20 years. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Breaking in, shooting a car, setting on fire, nothing to do with the politics, nothing to do with Tesla. You are a criminal, and you should go
What about the broader
to
question
jail.
about the protest factor? I mean, you heard
What
Tim Walz.
protest? You're a criminal.
I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state.
I mean,
that's their investment
your
fund.
point,
What a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part of the tech growth. But this is not the first time that companies have been in the crosshairs of protests. I mean, Republicans have protested companies all the time.
Except Republicans do not turn into the Taliban, right? When protesting companies, okay? Republicans actually know how to peacefully and patriotically protest. Again, this is something that the Democrats, the leftists, the liberals don't understand. When conservatives were protesting Bud Light, which is not an American company, by the way. Okay, so let's be clear about what the differences are. Again, conservatives did not jump to violence. Okay, conservatives were not out here harming people because they drank Bud Light. Now, hey, there was a lot of social stigmas associated with drinking Bud Light. But, hey, that is consumer choice, okay? And that is something that, hey, we've seen this happen for the longest time in this country. That's not new, okay? And that's not controversial. But, again, when you turn into the Taliban, when you start committing acts of terrorism and violence against an American car company, American manufacturer, yeah, that's a whole other level, right? That's a whole nother level. So, it's funny to me because when the liberal media talks about January 6th, right, the difference is just astonishing, because when Abby Phillip opened up this show talking about left-wing violence, she says, well, none of us condone violence, right? We don't condone breaking windows and setting Teslas on fire and things like that. We don't condone it. But is it okay to protest American companies, right? Well, can we do that, right? Is that something that we can do? But when it comes to the coverage of January 6th, right, do they ever do this thing where they just kind of dismissively say, oh, well, we don't condone violence, but hey, was the election actually stolen? Is it okay to protest the government when the government does something that you don't like, or when you don't like the outcomes of the election? Is it okay to protest that, right? They never frame the conversation around January 6th, right? Like they don't do that, right? Like that's not what the media does. What the media does with January 6th is that they essentially make the conversation about Republicans supporting the violence on January 6th, which a vast majority of Republicans actually condemned, by the way. But they talk about how violence is an issue on the right, even though it's not. Okay, do you guys understand what I'm saying in regards to how they frame these conversations? Because this is important, right? The way they talk about left-wing violence, they never sit down and have a real conversation about, hey, we've seen this with the BLM riots. We've seen this with the Roe v. Wade riots. We've seen this with the Antifa riots. We've seen this with the pro-Palestine riots. Now we're seeing it with the anti-Elon Musk riots. Does the left have a domestic terrorism problem? That's what the conversation should really be about, right? Because they never frame these conversations the same way when they're talking about January 6th. Anytime they talk about January 6th, there is explicit condemnation of the violence, and then they force Republicans to condemn it, and then they talk about how this is a characteristic of the right and how the right is so violent and extreme and white supremacy is so prevalent in this country. But again, we never have these in-depth conversations about Democrats condoning this type of violence. Why is this stuff happening over and over and over and over again for the past decade? Why do we keep dealing with this? Okay? Does the left have a domestic terrorism problem? That's the real conversation that needs to be had, that is being avoided on these shows. And they do that by dismissively saying, oh, well, we don't condone violence, and then they kind of move on, right? They don't really talk about it. They don't really talk about the real issue. So, with that being said, again, what they try to do here is that they try to create a false equivalence, right? By trying to say, oh, well, you know what conservatives did with Bud Light, with Anheuser-Busch, hey, well, you know, they boycotted a company, so therefore they're in the same boat. And it's like, no, it's not even close to the same thing. So without further ado, let's get into it.
It's just one solid period of the time that they have to go through it.
Well, let's play some of the Budweiser sound just to remind people of this was just a couple years ago, actually.
American beer brand Bud Light knocked $4 billion off of its parent company Anheuser-Busch's market cap this past week. And this is great. This is a great thing, and we need to keep it up.
I understand Bud Light is piss water masquerading as beer. So I guess that, you know, it's sort of trans beer.
This boycott is just getting started. It's not losing its legs. It's not petering out. It's not waiting for the storm to pass. This boycott means business.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
You can't make it up. But look, I mean...
There is a difference.
I mean, what is the difference? I mean, I'm not talking about the violence. We've already established that.
Well, I'm not talking about the violence. We've already established that. What I'm talking about here is just the fact that conservatives protested Anheuser-Busch. Why can't liberals protest Tesla? Again, they're not the same thing because liberals are using violence, okay? Conservatives are not using violence. You answer your own damn question. You answer your own damn question.
I get a kick out of it.
First of all, Tim Walz is a complete moron to me. I have to be very honest. And I'm not surprised why the American people did not choose him. Nothing against the vice president. With that said, Elon Musk employs 80,000+ Americans. Most of them are working class people. The implications of the stock, let's say this were to continue on for another year. So I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Will the company at some point have to decrease its workplace? Most of those people, I would imagine, probably vote for Democrats, at least some of them. So now you're impacting people who likely share your worldview because you disagree with Elon Musk. Don't buy the car. Just like those guys are saying, let's protest Anheuser-Busch, et cetera. We're just not going to buy their beer. I'm okay with that. But destroying public property, there is no place for that. I agree with Kevin. Lock them up and set an example that this is not what we're going to tolerate in this country.
I mean, obviously, the violence is completely unacceptable, and these people will go to jail. I mean, you can't burn a dealership and not get caught eventually and go to jail. But it is, again, the broader question here about has it crossed the line when people are sort of rooting for the failure of a company?
Well, first, let me say, until yesterday, I think I was one of the only Democratic elected officials to unambiguously condemn the violence and destruction against Tesla. I don't think you have to be tough on crime to do that. As you know, my grandfather is part of Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, independence movement. He said sabotage is a form of violence. I mean, this is not the best form of protest, and it's not the tradition. The second point is, I'm not going to root against Tesla. There are 20,000 people who work in my district who make a living off this. They're building electric vehicles that ultimately are good for the climate. I have huge, huge problems with what Elon Musk is doing. Have the protest and the conversation and criticism of Musk. Don't take it out on a company where you have workers, where you have engineers, where you have scientists, which are creating wealth for the country, which is helping the climate. And I think Democrats have to be able to offer common sense perspectives, focus on what the problem is with Musk. Don't focus on the wealth of a company.
Well, I mean, the Democrat Party doesn't have any common sense. Because if they had common sense, they would realize, like Rokana just laid out, why this protest is stupid, right? On their part, right? From their own worldview, protesting Tesla is dumb because, again, these are the same people that claim that climate change is an existential threat, okay? And Elon Musk is helping to fight against climate change, and they are protesting the guy that, again, is trying to save the world, right? I mean, from their own worldview, right? From their own worldview, okay? he also has the most American-made car that you can buy. So these individuals are hurting American workers. Okay, we're talking about good paying manufacturing jobs, which again, the left claims that, yeah, we want to bring those back to America, right? This is what they claim. But yet, again, you're trying to run an American company that is providing those jobs. You're trying to run them out of business, okay, because you disagree with Elon's political beliefs. Again, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing logically consistent or ideologically consistent about the left's protests against Elon Musk. But then again, they're Trump deranged and they're Elon deranged. So, I mean, there is no real thought behind it, okay? Which, again, is why they're acting out in the way that they're acting out.
The other thing, I mean, the other side of this coin is a company like Ben & Jerry's. The CEO says that he was fired because, you know, Ben & Jerry's, they put out a political statement about virtually everything. And they've been pretty strident against a lot of the things happening in the Trump administration. If it is true that he was fired for that reason, what do you say to that?
I think it's remarkably unfair. Shout out to Ben & Jerry's because they've taken some really incredible stances. We're talking about people who should be locked up and go to jail. It's the same party that's rooting for and seeking a pardon for Derek Chauvin. It is so rich to me to see that folks don't understand when folks use their platforms of privilege to ensure that the least of these among us have a voice in the process. I don't condone violence, but I wish people would take a look in the mirror and see what's actually happening. This is not an America First company. It's a South African First company. That's what Tesla is. But this is the same party that talks about America First and make America great again, but they're giving someone unfettered access who is an immigrant. And if you leave it to this party to talk about, there's no space for immigrants.
Okay.
No. Some of us are here by force.
Some of us are lesser immigrants?
No, you're right. That's exactly what y'all think. That's exactly what y'all think.
He's a lesser immigrant?
No. What I'm saying is...
He's tainted because you're from South Africa and he's really brilliant?
You know what is so funny about that? Y'all are also the party of the birtherism movement.
Wow, he's a tainted immigrant.
No. That's what you all would have liked to say about Barack Obama.
Where do I fit? I'm Irish Lebanese. Am I like second class or where am I?
You tell me, ask your party.
Wow.
I mean,
I didn't know.
So there's not, Angela's entitled to her views. There's not a single person in terms of leadership in the Republican Party who wants to get Derek Chauvin out of prison. That was a ludicrous idea that came out from some people who are on social media who are podcast hosts. Number two, Elon Musk's company is an American company. Now, you don't like his views. I respect that. You're entitled to that.
It's not just about me not liking his
but it
views.
is an American company, Angela, that employs a lot of American people.
That's true.
Black, white, Latinos,
I'm not
Republican,
you guys
Democrat.
are misunderstanding my point. The point is the hypocrisy inside the GOP. I'm not rooting for the demise of the company. I'm asking for there to be fairness across the aisle about how we see immigration, that we don't prefer South African refugees, as they're now being called, when their land was stolen, as some of your party are saying right now. Derek Chauvin is not just a random podcast idea. This is also the party that wanted to get rid of the Department of Justice police database for transparency and accountability when crimes were committed against American people.
And on the Derek chauvin point, I mean, the question was asked by a conservative reporter.
And the White House said no. I mean, why are we even debating this? I mean, the White House
said no. We're debating it because this is what the party is about.
Yeah, so what you have here is the xenophobia of the left coming out once again, right? Again, it's amazing how they keep pointing out the fact that Elon Musk is South African. And she's basically saying that, well, Tesla is not an America First company, even though, again, they have the most American-made car that you can buy, right? No, it's a South African first country. As if Tesla is being operated in South Africa. And it's not. It's being operated here in America. Elon Musk is an American citizen. He can vote, right? But yet they don't see him as a citizen because he's from South Africa, because he's a white South African, right? To be more specific, because he's a white South African, okay? Somebody that they see as a part of the apartheid system. They've already attached racism to Elon Musk, that he's a bad person, that he is evil, right? Just in virtue of the fact that he is an immigrant. And now they're showing you how much they hate immigrants. They don't like immigrants. They don't like immigrants and don't agree with them. It's almost as if they never loved immigrants so much. They only love immigrants because they believe that immigrants are going to agree with Democrats. But if you are an immigrant and you don't agree with Democrats, all of a sudden they're tossing out xenophobic slurs and calling you all types of stuff based off the fact that you weren't born in the country, even though you're a citizen. Again, it's crazy how that works, right? It's amazing because they do that with everybody, right? If you're black, they love black people. Unless you're a black conservative, then they hate you. They can't stand you. You're a sellout, right? You're selling out your own people. The white liberals will say that, right? They got enough cojones to try to tell black conservatives that. When it comes to the gays, right? LGBTQs, okay? If you're an LGBTQ person and you vote for Trump, you support Trump, again, you bad person. If you're a woman and you support Trump, oh, you're a bad person. You're a bad woman. Okay, you're not a real woman. Again, it's amazing how that works. Again, it's almost as if the whole identity stuff from the Democrats, again, they don't love you based off your identity. They love you based off whether or not you support liberal causes, whether or not you support the Democrat Party, okay? But again, you're seeing this theme over and over and over again about Elon Musk being South African, basically taking away his American citizenship status when, again, we all know that if the GOP engaged in this type of rhetoric, the left will be boo-hoo-whining and crying. So while she's talking about the hypocrisy of the GOP, but the real hypocrites here are these Democrats, right? The leftists who continue to basically shame Elon for not being born here in this country, something that they told us you're not supposed to do. Okay, you're supposed to love all immigrants. Okay, all of them should be here in the country, but no, they got to deport Elon. Elon is terrible, right? He's a terrible immigrant, right? Because he doesn't support Democrats. Again, it's amazing how that works. So, again, my frustration with a lot of these people is that they're not coming out here and explicitly condemning the violence. They keep trying to both sides it. They keep trying to water it down by not having a real conversations about the fact is that we have left-wing extremism in this country that is out of control. And like I said, my evaluation of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel will be their ability to rein in these left-wing extremists. I do not want to see another 4 years of left-wing lunatics rioting in the streets, burning down cities, being agents of chaos. This problem has to be fixed. It has to be corrected ASAP. Every single last one of these individuals should be punished to the fullest extent of the law, and a lot of them shouldn't see the light of day again, to be honest with you. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.